Modelled directly from the acclaimed Mark 8, the V8 is the only software version and the only official Rhodes plugin. That means one exclusive plugin with all the improvements in tone and enhanced capabilities of the Mark 8, because after all, only a Rhodes is a Rhodes. Let's take a look at how the Mark 8, and therefore the V8 Pro, goes further in its tonal possibilities than any Rhodes that came before it. As we mentioned in the previous video, the envelope in the preamp section functions as an auto wah, modulating the midband's EQ frequency. To engage the auto wah, boost the mid gain. You can hear the filter's effect on the V8's sound, but it won't respond to the keys until you turn up the envelope dial. Now the midband reacts to the dynamic rise and fall of the signal as you play. We have an auto wah effect. The midband's frequency dial determines the lowest frequency of the auto wah. Turn it up and you get a higher movement in the auto wah. Add some drive and things warm up even more. The auto wah effect of the envelope will stay in step with your playing. But the midband EQ was built to function as a classic wah with an expression pedal. If you have a pedal or any CC controller connected, you can link it to the frequency dial to open and close the wah filter yourself. Right-click the frequency knob and select Learn MIDI CC. Now the expression pedal has control over the frequency dial, and we can wah as we want. Moving things more slowly, we can use the filter for some calmer modulation instead. We can also use the midband EQ to cut instead of boost. This gives us a smooth, phaser-like sound, which is still hooked up to our expression pedal. The rate of the VaryPen effect can be tuned to high levels to coax a rough, ring modulation style sound out of the V8. Move the rate above halfway and we start to reach audio rate modulation. Although the metallic timbre of this sound can be extreme for a lot of uses, you can pare back the depth knob to blend the ring mod with the dry sound of the piano for a more subtle approach. The wave shape you choose for the VaryPan has a big impact on the character of the ring modulation effect. This ring modulation effect sounds great when put through a slow phaser effect. You can go further in tweaking the VaryPan's wave shape in the detail panel using the Slew and Smooth controls. The Slew control slows down the transition between voltage states, making for a lazier wave shape. The Smooth control turns a square more towards a sine shape, reducing straighter lines towards smoother curves. Use the tab in the top right to get to the setup page, where you can customize the behavior of individual keys. There are 4 properties you can adjust: level, damper, fine-tune, and timbre. You can switch each off and on using the buttons in the bottom left if it makes things more focused. The top row in Lilac lets you set the level for each note. This is simply a measure of the gain in dB and doesn't influence the tone as pickup distance would. Just click and drag on one column to set the level for that note. You can get finer movement of the slider by holding a modifier key, Alt or Option, or Command or Control. In blue, we have the damper row. Set to negative 100%, a note's damper uses more force against its tine, stopping the note dead when a key is released. Set to positive 100%, the damper is far weaker and the note continues to ring out after the key is released. Back at 0, there's a midpoint between these two. The default setting is neither too loose nor too firm, and of course you can set any note anywhere between the two extremes. The green row of the setup screen lets you fine-tune the tines, each by up to 25 cents, sharper or flatter. You can get wholesale tuning for all notes in the detail screen, which we'll get to soon. The timbre row sets the angle of a tine relative to the pickup pole, adjusting each note's sound in terms of its harmonic content. At higher levels, up to 50, you get more harmonics appearing. The sound is brighter and hotter. At lower levels, down to -50, you create fewer harmonics for a purer, glassier tone. Your setup page can be saved within a profile and will also save to a main preset. We can venture further under the lid of the Rhodes V8 with some tweaks that were previously only available to Rhodes technicians, as well as some new concepts too. The tuning dial is the master tuning control for the V8. Turn it to the right and every note goes up in pitch. Turn it to the left and everything goes down in pitch. The Rhodes Mark 8 is an electromechanical instrument generating sound with keys and hammers that strike thin metal tines. Turning up the mechanical noise dial introduces more of the sound of hammers, dampers releasing, cabinet resonance, pedal noise, and all sounds from inside the cabinet for a more organic, textured feel. Timbre shift is a global way to control how close the pickups are to the tines. In the same way as the individual note timbre controls in the setup section, timbre shift controls the angle of the tine relative to the pickup, increasing or reducing the harmonic content. At higher levels of timbre shift, the tine position is lower relative to the pickup pole, bringing out more harmonics and animating the tone more overall. At lower levels, the tines are further above the center of the pickup, leading to a fatter and purer tone with less harmonic content. The Profile EQ is a more detailed EQ than the one on the front panel. With it, you can dial in setups of particular artists, older Rhodes models, or even more out there sounds. The saved profiles that come with the instrument are good examples of what the Profile EQ can achieve, alongside other setup details. The level dial gives you another gain control to help compensate for your changes on the detail page. But it only has control over the tonal parts of the Rhodes sound. With level placed fully down, we can isolate the mechanical noise. The velocity curve can exaggerate the effect of low or high MIDI note velocity on the instrument. Set the curve to maximum, and almost all notes are played with near maximum force, except the lowest possible MIDI velocities received. And with depth set to 0, there's no curve at all. Every single note is played at maximum force. Set curve to minimum, and every note, except the highest possible input velocity, comes out as a quieter note. And with depth set to 0, every single note is played at minimum force. Between 0 and any extreme, you can use the velocity curve to get more sensitivity out of low or high velocity notes. When using the sustain pedal, we can actually hear the effect of all the dampers being moved off the tines at once. And all being moved back onto them at once. The pedal dials help customize the effect of moving the sustain pedal. Level increases the volume of that effect. And init velocity determines how much the pedal needs to be pressed before the tines will ring out.